Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction. I don't know why I said it that way, but welcome to my blind reaction to RWBY Vol6 Chapter 11. So yeah, we are here at Chapter 11, and I'm excited. Because last episode left us off with Blake and Adam. So yeah, Adam has apparently been following Blake all the way through Anima. And it was actually pointed out to me in the first episode of this volume, it was mentioned that those two huntsmen who were guarding the train left the back door to the caboose open, and that maybe Adam could have snuck aboard at that point. That's an interesting thought. We don't know for sure, of course, but either way, Adam has been following them all throughout Anima and has just been waiting for Blake to be alone. So when she is alone and goes to the relay tower as part of this mission to steal the airship, yeah, things go wrong. But Yang is on her way, and Blake is holding Adam back right now. The way it ended, though, with that in the last episode was clearly framing that to be kind of the big thing with this next episode. Yes, the entire thing with what is her name? I cannot think of her name. The little old woman general lady. I don't remember her name right now. I was thinking of it earlier. I remembered it earlier. But either way, with her piloting the mech and everything, like, yeah, that's clearly going to come back in this episode. That's another big part of what's going on right now. But it definitely was setting up the idea that Blake and Adam's thing is going to be much bigger. That it's going to be the focus of this episode. Just in the way that was set up with last episode. And I think there's two more after this. This is episode 11, so let me just check real quick, because I want to make sure. I think it's 13 episodes total for this volume. But I don't want to, like, say that without thinking, or without, I don't want to assume, you know. But yeah, it's like, I'm really enjoying what we've got with this volume. Hard to believe it's almost over, and it sucks that it's almost over. But it's clearly going to the point where it's going to end off with, yeah, there's 2 more episodes after this one. There's 13 total. It's clearly going to where it's going to end off with them either just on their way or getting to Atlas. I was thinking that that was going to happen, like, a little before the end. But with this entire thing now with the mech and now with Adam, I'm thinking that this episode, episode 11, and probably episode 12 are going to focus on these two things still. And then episode 13 is going to close everything out with them on their, again, either on their way or getting to Atlas. Or maybe a little of both. And we're probably going to see more of Cinder and Neo within these last few episodes. Maybe more of Emerald and Mercury. And maybe more of Tyrion and Watts getting to Atlas. Heck, I'm hoping still that we see Ironwood, though. I really do want to see more of Ironwood before next season. Before this season came out and everything, people were speculating, because they said at the end of last season that they were going to be heading to Atlas next, that's what this season was going to be about, them getting to Atlas and trying to figure out what to do once they got there and how to get to the next relic. But it's funny, because this entire season was about the journey to get to Atlas. And obviously there were some more big things happening with this one, especially regarding certain characters and their growth, as well as learning a lot of new big information. But yeah, it was definitely all the journey to getting to Atlas. That's what this entire season has been about. I've been loving it, though. Either way, each volume just continues to be better than the last. This series has improved so much and has become one of my favorites of all time. And it definitely wasn't like that before these most recent volumes, so I don't know what people are talking about when they say that the recent volumes have not been that good. Oh well. Either way, so yeah, with this episode, that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to see a lot more of the Blake and Adam thing, with possibly Yang arriving before the end of the episode. And, of course, the continued fight against the old woman in the mech. I cannot think of her name right now for the life of me. I guess we'll find out. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I'm conflicted. This episode has left me conflicted. I just don't know what the fuck to use as a thumbnail. No, the episode was phenomenal. Seriously, there's 3 big things I want to use as a thumbnail here, and I don't know which one to choose. I might have to actually splice together a special thumbnail for this one. Because there's the part in the first... I won't call them an A plot and a B plot, because both are equally as important. But in the first half of this episode, there is the entire White Rose shipping fuel moment, where where Royce is like, "You're lucky that I caught you," and Ruby smiles and like, I knew you would," and it's just like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And it's like, I want to use that, but then in the second half, you had 2 different things. First, Adam without his mask. Showing the brand covering one of his eyes, showing that that's why he's always worn the mask on. He doesn't have he only has one eye. I also didn't expect his eye to be like that much of a bright blue. I don't know. I expected it to be more like of a brown or maybe a hazel, but not blue like that. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, there's that, and then there's the ending shot with Bumblebee. I almost want to say that confirms it. Now, let's talk about that first. I know, kind of going out of order, but I really need to talk about this. Earlier in this volume, Blake told Yang that she was going to protect her. When they were at the farm where all the apathy were, before they found the apathy, when Yang and Blake were in the barn searching for, and they found the trailer and all, Blake told Yang that she would protect her, and Yang had an adverse reaction to that. And there were multiple people had different theories on why she reacted to that specifically. Mine was that she felt like she had to protect Blake. And she felt that with Blake saying that to her, she felt useless. She felt like she was just, how do I put it? Like she wasn't living up to the image she had built back up for herself. She felt like she was in that same mindset as when she was going through all of the pain and suffering after she first lost her arm. That's kind of how I feel about it. That she felt like she was being not looked down upon, but almost invalidated in all the strength she had to build back up. In all of the, just not only physical, but mental and emotional strength that she had lost and had to work back up to raising again through her time off after the fall of Beacon. So when Blake told her, like, oh, I'll protect you, it's like, I don't need you to protect me. And I also still think that she was thinking, no, I want to protect you now. I've gotten strong again. I want to be the one to protect. But in here, in this episode, Blake's like, no, she's not going to protect me, and I'm not going to protect her. We're going to protect each other. And she says that while holding Yang's hand, and it kind of like fades out with them holding hands, standing strong together. And if that's not a Bumblebee moment, I don't know what is. Because here's the thing. I am going to, I'm going to make a comparison here to my favorite show of all time, The Legend of Korra. The Legend of Korra, through its final couple of volumes, its second half, started to build up this idea of a relationship with, between Korra and Asami. There were little hints here and there that built up their relationship as friends, but also possibly something more. Especially with, in the first two volumes, the fandom had really gotten on board with the idea of Korra-Asami. In the final episode of the show, Korra and Asami held hands, looked into each other's eyes as they went on vacation in the spirit world. And that's how the show ended. It didn't explicitly tell us, like, oh, they're together. They didn't kiss or do anything, like, inherently romantic or anything. They held hands and looked at each other. Yes, it was very romantic, and it was clear what the creators were trying to tell us. Some people tried to deny it, but no, Brian and Michael confirmed that that's what that was all about. And in the comics, which are considered canon to the series, they have progressed further with that and just outright stated that they're girlfriends now. The way this ended gave me very strong vibes of Legend of Korra. The fact that it ended with Yang and Blake holding hands. The fact that it ended with them standing strong together against an enemy. And the fact of Blake's words that we're going to protect each other now. Everything about that screamed confirmation of Bumblebee. And maybe I'm looking into it. Maybe I'm hoping because I do ship it, and maybe it's just hopeful thoughts. Maybe it's just me wanting Bumblebee to be canon and seeing things that may not actually be intended. But let's be honest, that was heavy with the implication. Even if unintended, the way that was, the way that scene was framed, the way that was written, was heavy with the implication. Yes, Blake and Yang went through a lot with the fall of Beacon, with Yang losing trust in Blake, and Blake trying to repair that. Yes, there has been Yang still showing that she's not been fully ready to get back to normal. But this is not just a friendship thing. Just watch that last moment of this episode. That is not friendship. Yes, friends can stand strong together. Friends can protect each other. Yeah, of course. Hell yeah. I mean, our main characters have been doing that this entire time. But again, it was the way the scene was set up. It was the framing of each shot. It was the angles they used for the characters. It was the specific focus they placed on Blake taking Yang's hand in her own. As Yang's hand was shaking from the PTSD and the anger towards Adam. And it was the words used. Everything was telling us, without explicitly saying, that they're a couple now. This was their coming out moment. And unless something is, excuse me, unless something is either officially said otherwise in the coming episodes or by the crew themselves, I can't see it any other way. From a storytelling and visual perspective, everything about that screamed them being a couple. And we know the crew is supportive of the LGBT community. And while I had mentioned, I believe I mentioned even last episode, actually. I believe it was in last episode's reaction, I mentioned that I was talking about how Monty originally intended for them to be seen as more like sisters, just all of Team RWBY, rather than have any romantic things. Someone actually mentioned, I believe. In fact, let me look that up. I want to get this right. Because, and I know I'm focusing a lot on this one aspect, this one small aspect of the episode. This is going to be some long afterthoughts. Let's just put it that way, because I want to focus on this. Here we go. It was Cartoon Lounge. Cartoon Lounge stated on my Volume 10 reaction, or Volume 6, Chapter 10, rather, adding on to your point about Monty viewing them as sisters, here's the thing, is that the writing and opinions do change over time. So if he were still alive, there could have been the possibility that he would have approved of the idea of making a couple in the main four. A very good example from Alex Hirsch. He stated once very early on that there would be 3 seasons of Gravity Falls, but of course he changed that to 2. And this is completely true. Like, when Monty stated that, it was still very early on in the series. Things do change, and that's happened with a lot of shows. Not necessarily the plots, a lot of plot things could have been thought of from the beginning, of course, but characters and the way they interact with each other can change once the creators get to know those characters a lot more. Monty very much could have started to change his views on that and started to have the idea and approved of making them a couple. We'll never know, unfortunately. But the crew running it now, they're doing things in their own way. Yes, they're still going to follow a lot of Monty's blueprints. But, as I think I said at last reaction, they can't follow everything. In order to keep the show going, they do have to, 1, make it their own, and 2, they have to be able to just take the reins and change things. Do things that Monty might not have necessarily done. They have to be able to adapt to how the characters have evolved and how the show has evolved. And so I don't think it's out of the question at all. For those people who still say, like, no, they're going to honor Monty's wish. They're not going to have any of Team RWBY be a couple. It's like, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think that's how this is going to work. And again, not just even because of what we saw in this episode. I think that, again, in order to keep the show going, there's going to be a point where they can't just follow Monty's blueprints. They're going to have to add in their own stuff, do their own things, and change things, even, to make it work. So I think that, honestly, the idea of Yang and Blake as a couple isn't far-fetched. And again, until anything is either stated or shown in the episodes otherwise, I have to believe, from the context of that scene, from the visual cues, the writing, the cinematography of it all, I have to believe that they were just confirmed that Bumblebee is a thing. I can't see it any other way. And if the crew does refute this, and if future episodes refute this, then okay. Then then the clear implication was unintentional. But until that happens, and unless that happens, there's no other way to see this in my eyes. But let's talk about the rest of this. So I'm going to still continue talking about this second half of the episode first. So we got Adam, and we found out that, well, one, we found out what he looks like, and we see that he has that brand, which is definitely why he's like this. We don't have all of the story, but that's definitely a clue as to his backstory and why he is the way he is, why he hates humanity so much. He might have been enslaved at some point, for all we know. He might have seen family and or friends killed by humans. Hopefully we're going to find out. Hopefully in the next episode. But what we do know is that he doesn't consider the pains he felt from the humans to be his worst pain. He actually, his perceived notion of Blake abandoning and betraying him, he sees that as much worse. And it's the reason why he has followed her, why he is still going, why he's not giving up or letting it go. He feels like this is the worst possible thing that could have happened. And it's not a good reason, but again, people have done this kind of thing in real life, unfortunately. And it's like, I mean, maybe not to the extent and same specifics as Adam, of course, but there have been plenty of news stories, unfortunately, of people stalking their exes because they felt betrayed and abandoned and everything, and even going as far as to try and kill that ex's, like, current love interests or whatnot. Yada yada. You get the idea. So it's not like it's an unbelievable story. It's not like it's a unrealistic part of his story. It's just not a very good reason. But that doesn't mean it's poorly written. Because that's a thing that a lot of people seem to think. That, oh, if a character has a bad reason for their actions, or a stupid reason, or however you want to word it, then that automatically means it's terrible writing. And that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. But yeah, either way, Yang came in to save Blake, and now they're going to fight together. We had Blake fighting Adam at the beginning of the second half, of course. Then Yang fought Adam for a little bit, and now they're going to protect each other and fight as a team. And so I'm happy about that. I'm glad for that. But then we've got the first half of this episode. Let's actually go back to that. So Cordovan is continuing her attack on the rest of our heroes, and they're attacking back. They're trying to stop her so they can get out. Weiss and RWBY team up. We see Crow helping and working with Ren and all. The rest of Team Juniper are doing stuff. Oscar's with Maria and the ship. They're all doing their things, and they're all seemingly doing really well. Yes, Cordovan gets the jump on them a couple times, and yes, she does manage to cause some problems for them. But they are definitely doing well against her. They are definitely doing some damage. They are stopping her in a lot of ways. They're succeeding in a lot of ways. But the first half of the episode does end with what looks like her shooting down the airship, which I don't think is going to happen, by the way. I think that they're going to eventually escape. I do think that. I don't know if they're going to have to take her out or just try to fly away or whatever, but they are going to eventually escape. Either that or someone else is going to come and get them. Someone like, I don't know, Ironwood or someone. Maybe. I mean, I'd be up for that. I guess we'll just have to see. But yeah, there was that, there was some great moments, and I swear I heard Nora say, in fact, I'm gonna check that again. I really want to find out if I was right about that. Because that was like a really, that was just really great when that... Let me check here. You shouldn't be able to hear it. I turned off the volume, but... She did. She said, "You get back here with my man." Okay. So that's confirming it. I mean, obviously we knew they were together before even last season, at the end of at the end of Volume 4, when they held hands and when Nora leaned against Ren while they were on their way to Haven. We knew that they were together at that point, let's be honest. It's kind of the same way as with Bumblebee in this episode, and again, going back to Kurosami. It didn't explicitly state anything. And even afterwards, it hasn't, like, until now, given us any big explicit moments for it. Like, we haven't seen them kiss or anything. But it's like, yeah, I mean, this kind of confirms that, yeah, at that moment, Renora, the ship, Ren and Nora, became canon, that they were together. Let's be honest, there's no other way to interpret that. Come back here with my man? She's not talking about Crow. She's clearly talking about Ren, and you know that kind of term is only used in a romantic sense. So it's like, yeah, you know what she's saying with that. And that's great, because it didn't, like, otherwise explicitly state until this point that they were together, but we kind of already knew because of that moment from the end of Volume 4. That moment, we all basically, I mean, us as fans, we all basically knew at that moment that it was a thing, and we all kind of stated it as such. I saw all over the place on social media, people were saying, oh, Ren Nora is confirmed. And there were a couple of naysayers, of course, but most people did seem to agree that that was just straight up confirmed. Yet again, since then we haven't gotten any big things, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Why do we have to get constant validation of that? Why would we have to get them, like, what, constantly kissing or hugging each other or holding each other sweetly or anything? Couples can do more than just constantly coddle with each other. Just they're confirmed together, and that's clearly a thing here. But still, it's just like, it doesn't need to explicitly state or go overboard with it all the time. I think that was, like, they wanted, since they already did that scene at the end of Volume 4, they wanted to just kind of nail it in with this, with that line. And then, again, there was some White Rose shipping fuel in this. And then, of course, the Bumblebee moment. And it's like, this episode very much felt like, yes, it's continuing the plot, things are still happening, but it's still kind of confirming 3 ships almost, or at least confirming 2. White Rose is iffy. I'll acknowledge that, even though it's my favorite ship in the show. I will acknowledge White Rose is kind of iffy at the moment. Because it didn't really confirm anything. Because these two have had these kind of spats and back and forths before. And that, I wouldn't say that's confirming. But, again, I can only see the Bumblebee thing in that way. And honestly, with Renora, it's like, I already saw how that was done with Volume 4, and they're confirming it here with the definite, obvious use of my man. So yeah, this episode was interesting, because it did kind of confirm 2 ships, and then give heavy fuel to another, while at the same time not feel like it was just being fan servicey or forced or anything. It felt natural in the context and the just writing of the episode with what they were already doing. Because Nora would say something like that in that context, in the heat of the moment. RWBY and Weiss's back and forth there is just how they've always acted around each other, even if it was a little more fueling than usual, with just certain little context clues and all. But that would normally happen. Of course Weiss is going to save RWBY. Why wouldn't she? I also love how that the giant wasp Grimm was brought back, and how she used her summoning for that again. It's just great to see that again and again, you know? But then again, the Bumblebee thing was a lot more heavy with its implication, again, even if unintended, but hopefully intended. And it's just like, that felt natural too because of what was going on with Adam, and how he connected to both of them in a very meaningful and important way with their character arcs and all. It didn't come out of nowhere, it didn't feel unnatural or forced, but it definitely still felt like straight up confirmation. And it's just like the action was fantastic in this episode as well. And it's like everything about this was great. It was a phenomenal episode that gave us so much. Gave us so much to think about, to look forward to. I can't wait till next week's episode. Honestly, the past couple episodes, while good, have left me feeling a little bit like I felt like they were lacking a little something. A couple episodes ago with the Pyrrha episode, yes, that was really heavily and emotional, and it was great otherwise, but it still felt like upon multiple rewatches, it still felt like, I feel like it was still, I don't know how to put it. Not like there was something missing, but like something was a little off about it. I guess it's maybe just the fact about who is clearly supposed to be either Pyrrha's mother or older sister. Just the fact that they didn't confirm anything in the credits or whatever, despite it clearly having to be one of those two. But then in the episode after that and all, it's like when they're starting to enact their plan and everything, it just, I don't know, it's like episode 10 is one that I haven't watched as much. Even with reactions, I just haven't watched it as often. And it's just like, with some reactions, I've even just skipped to the ending of it. Just, again, not because it was bad, but I just felt like it was lacking a little something. But this episode, at least off of my first viewing, felt so much full of great content, and is something I really, really want to watch again and again and again. And honestly, the last time I really felt this excited about an episode was the Apathy one. The episode where the Apathy were revealed. Because that, again, as I've mentioned before, I love it when an episode or arc of something can be horror-themed, and really well-written horror theming, without the full show being like that. And it just did it really freaking well. And of course, the one with Maria and Tak and all in it was great as well. But yeah, it's just, this is definitely one of the more excited I have been after an episode. Because with the Pyrrha one, I was actually kind of more sad. I mean, happy about everything that happened, but sad because of the Pyrrha thing. But with this one, I'm just pumped. I mean, I've been talking for almost half an hour about this, and most of it, I think, has just been on the entire Bumblebee thing. But I want to hear what you think. Tell me in the comments below what you think of episode 11, or chapter 11 of volume 6 of RWBY. What do you think of the Bumblebee moment? Do you think that was as big of a confirmation as I think it was? Do you agree with me on the fact that 3 ships were kind of either confirmed or at least given fuel here? And what did you think of the face reveal for Adam? and the possibilities that brand over his eyes brings for his character. What do you think of what's going on with the fight against Cordovan? Tell me your thoughts on all of that and more in the comments below. And I know episode 12 will have already come out by the time this is uploaded and all, but please, no spoilers to episode 12 in the comments. I will be watching that within the couple days after this episode is uploaded, because this will be uploaded, as you know, on Saturday the 19th, and then I'll probably record my reaction to episode 12 on, I want to say, the 21st, Monday the 21st, because it's Monday the 14th right now as I'm recording this one. So yeah, tell me your thoughts once again, especially on the entire Bumblebee thing. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,